With us now, Scott Horton, editorial director of antiwar.com. Scott, appreciate you doing this. Do you think Israel has the right to do this and to defend itself? And or do you think that this is just a bad idea?
Well, yeah, two separate questions. The way you framed it was launching an aggressive war is defending itself, but that's just because you say it that way. In any other contest, of course, it's completely illegal. This is what Japan did to us at Pearl Harbor, the day of infamy, a surprise sneak attack against a country that wasn't attacking them. And so that was what was going on here. And the fact is, they were in the middle of negotiations. And the reporting now is that Trump was actually shining the Iranians on and was pretending to negotiate with them and was telling them,
let's just insert a couple
public
things.
Statements that he had.
It was Israel that was attacked on October 7th by an Iranian proxy and by Hezbollah. It was also Israel that was attacked by Iran. It was also U.S. troops that were attacked by Iran.
Once again, the media is running cover for Israel. You can see it clearly here. News Nation is trying to push a narrative that Iran is attacking both Israel and the United States. That's simply not true. As you can see, Iran has not attacked the United States directly. This is a conflict between Iran and Israel. Just as the US provides Israel with material and intelligence support, Iran supports its proxies. Let's compare this to the Russia-Ukraine war. When Russia launched a surprise attack on Ukraine, no one in the media tried to justify it by saying Russia was defending itself. Yet somehow, when it's Israel, the narrative shifts. This exposed the blatant bias of the media outlets that claim to be different, but clearly aren't.
Nevertheless, who in their right mind would allow someone, a regime that runs around chanting death to America, death to Israel, or if someone was running around chanting death to Scott Horton, would you want them to have a nuclear bomb?
Well, the thing of it is, as I'm sure you must know, as the CIA and the rest of the intelligence community concluded back in 2007, Iran stopped even researching into how to make a nuclear bomb after George Bush got rid of Saddam Hussein for them. They had no more need for a nuclear weapon at that time. They opened up their books, and everyone watching this knows that Netanyahu has said they're a few weeks away from a bomb for the last 20 years. They still don't have a single one. And in February,
if we're going to start invading countries just because the fringe group there chants death to America, then why aren't we invading North Korea? They have done that for decades, and they actually have a nuclear weapon. Of course, we don't, because North Korea is backed by China and Russia. Let's talk about Iran's nuclear program. Benjamin Netanyahu has been claiming for over 40 years that Iran is months away from building a nuclear bomb. Yet we are here, still waiting. I'm going to show you a compilation of media clip and Netanyahu himself making the same tired claim for decades.
It would take Iran about 12 months to enrich enough nuclear material for a single nuclear weapon.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken is warning that Iran is potentially just months away or less from nuclear breakpoint.
Iran is 2 months away from a nuclear weapon, and it's a victory to get them 1 year away?
Iran could be less than a month away from building a nuclear weapon. Netanyahu has made 2 tough-talking TV appearances, saying that Iran is just months away from making a nuclear bomb.
What is important to understand is that you have to dismantle the entire terror empire, and especially before its main practitioners, the terror states of Iran and Iraq, acquire nuclear weapons. And this, I think, has been a wake-up call from hell. It is telling us, you have the power now to act.
This has always been about Israel pushing the US to fight Israel's war. Let's not forget the military-industrial complex and the mainstream media are complicit. They profit from endless war, even if it costs American lives and resources.
The director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, put out the threat assessment, the annual threat assessment. Everyone can read it at dni.gov. And it says that they have not made the decision to begin to pursue a nuclear weapon.
You don't think that the Israelis have better intelligence? Come on.
No. Look, there's nothing saying that late Israeli claims of recent advancement are true. No one else is confirming that at all. In fact, what they had all along, Leland, was a latent nuclear deterrent. It's the same as Germany or Japan or Brazil, where they had shown that they had perfected the fuel cycle. They know how to make nuclear weapons fuel, but they're not making it. And so what has happened here is with this attack, I know you want to hoist up your mission accomplished banner, but with this attack, they're actually more likely to pursue nuclear weapons now, whereas before they actually were not pursuing
Germany
them,
and Brazil,
despite your begged question in your question.
Now imagine you're Iran. You made a deal with the Obama's administration, signed and backed by Russia, China, and the EU, to ensure your nuclear program stayed peaceful. In return, sanctions would be lifted and frozen assets returned. Despite propaganda saying Obama gave Iran pallets of cash, it was just Iran's own money being returned. But Israel opposed that deal, and Trump, under the pressure from Israel, tore it up unilaterally. So if I were Iran and I wasn't building a nuclear weapon before, I would seriously consider it now. This betrayal and war only radicalized both the Iranian public and its government. We've seen this play out before in the Middle East. We never learn. You can win battles, but never the war.
Germany and Brazil, a few things. Don't run around chanting death to America or death to Israel. For that matter.
And they weren't making nuclear weapons either.
What I'm trying to figure out is why destabilizing a regime that has made its sole mission to destroy Israel and, for that matter, to destroy the United States, why that would be a bad thing.
Well, George W. Bush told Ehud Olmert absolutely not back in 2007 because the Pentagon told him that it would be too reckless, that Iran is not Iraq, which was already bad enough and way worse than Bush thought it was going to be, and that Iran would not be a pushover and that they would have escalation dominance in the region, that they could threaten our soldiers in Iraq, which we still have thousands of soldiers in Iraq. We also have tens of thousands, as you just show on your map there, in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Saudi. $1 trillion worth of economic targets.
Scott, I understand all that.
They can close the Straits of Hormuz. They can close the Straits of Hormuz.
I understand all the bad things that can happen. I understand all the bad things that can happen. This is the exact same things that the Iranians were doing. Okay, they were attacking U.S. soldiers. The problem is, once Iran gets a nuclear bomb, there were more than 150 attacks by Iranian proxies against U.S. interests during the Biden administration. We just all conveniently forgot about it. But I continue. The issue here, and the reason the world is safer, is because once Iran got a nuclear bomb or was on the beyond the point of no return, they could act with absolute impunity. They could do all the bad things you said, and the world couldn't do anything to them because they had a nuclear bomb.
Here's the thing of it: we had a deal before
that they kept breaking.
That they were not in violation of, that Donald Trump tore up at Netanyahu's behest in 2018. Under that deal,
why do you hate Benjamin Netanyahu so much?
This talking head is completely dishonest. He lies and changes the subject constantly. First, he falsely claimed Iran is attacking U.S. troops. Then, when he got called out, he said it happened during Biden administration, which is also false. Then he lies again, saying Iran broke the Obama deal, when in reality, it was Trump who walked away from it. When challenged, he resorts to personal attack and accusing his guest, Scott Harton, of hating Netanyahu, which is completely not even what we're talking about. It's a classic tactic of deflect and smear. This is warmongering, plain and simple. We have seen it before, mobilizing public opinion using fear, lies, and propaganda. It's the same playbook. pushing the US towards war with no real justification.
If they decided to break out and try to create a nuclear weapon, it would have taken them at least a year to get enough fissile material to even make one, much less complete the process of making one. That was the deal Trump tore up. At that time, any enriched uranium, why don't you let me finish? Anytime they enriched
Because
uranium,
half of the things you're saying isn't true and the other half are wrong.
France. They had no stockpile of enriched uranium because they shipped it all out to France to be made into fuel rods and then be shipped back into the country under the old deal. It was after Trump withdrew from the deal at Netanyahu's behest that they then began to stockpile the enriched uranium that you're referring to that makes them that much closer to the bomb. Trump could have just got back in the deal and called it the Trump deal instead of the Obama deal, and all of this would have been fine.
It was a bad deal to begin with. I still don't understand why you believe that we should allow a country that has shown a willingness to launch terror attacks on the United States, kill Americans, launch and support terrorists around the world and attack our allies. Why even take the risk that they could possibly get a nuclear bomb?
That's funny. You know, I wonder how you think that after Iraq and Somalia and Libya and Mali and Syria and Ukraine and Afghanistan, that the United States of America ought to be in charge of bombing countries, changing their regimes, fixing anything, especially in the Middle East, especially what Netanyahu wanted. He's the one who said, if we got rid of Saddam Hussein for him, then everything would be, that peace would reverberate throughout the region. But instead we put it right.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age, something new is happening.
And that is speculation on your part, or you have some evidence to that effect?
I was asked the same question in 1986. I had written a book in which I had said that the way to deal with terrorist regimes, well, with terror, was to deal with the terrorist regimes. And the way to deal with the terrorist regimes, among other things, was to apply military force against them.
The way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get there. We've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect. The effect was, we were told that there would be a contrary effect. First of all, people said that there would be tens of thousands of people streaming into Afghanistan, zealots who would be outraged by America's action, and this would produce a counter-reaction in the Arab world.
But I think you're not saying that when you take an action like we did in Afghanistan, we're going to see all the other countries just fold.
No, what we saw is something else. First of all, we saw everybody streaming out of Afghanistan. The second thing we saw is all the Arab countries and many Muslim countries trying to side with America, trying to be okay with America. The application of power is the most important thing in winning the war on terrorism. If I had to say, what are the three principles of winning the war on terror? It's like, what are the three principles of real estate, the three L's, location, location, location? The three principles of winning the war on terror are the three W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier. The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier too, but it may change the nature of achieving that victory.
Iran's best friends in power in Baghdad, a war I'm sure you supported too. And then now we supported Al-Qaeda, Mujahideen in Syria, because they are enemies of Iran's friends in Syria. Do you support that? Do you support Al-Qaeda in Syria?
I've spent a lot of time in the places that you just talked about. But that beside the point. So are you saying under no condition, so under no condition, should a country, this was not the United States bombing Iran, by the way, this has been Israel, there's a distinction. Is there no country that has a right to keep its enemies, its sworn enemies, from getting a nuclear weapon?
Well, Truman did not attack the Soviet Union to prevent them from getting nukes, and Johnson did not invade China to prevent them from getting nukes.
Mao Zedong
was by far the worst person who ever lived, the most dangerous person who ever lived. We didn't launch a preemptive war against them, and they haven't used a nuclear weapon a single time. Only the United States has used nuclear weapons.
So you believe religious fanatics who chant death to America, death to Israel aren't a little bit different than the Soviet Union and China? Come on. I mean, you're putting an awful lot of weight. You're putting an awful lot of weight in somehow the fidelity and goodness.
You think Mao Zedong's a better man than the Ayatollah, huh? We got you on tape, buddy.
Okay. I don't understand what your point is.
That Mao Zedong killed 40 million people.
Yeah.
You must not know anything about communism.
I know plenty about Mao and that he killed 4 million people. I'm not sure how I said he was better or
He
worse
killed
than the
4 million? Is
Ayatollah.
that what you just said?
Okay. All right.
He killed 40 million people.
I understand that,
40
Scott.
million.
News Nation just got exposed for what it is, another propaganda outlet. The news anchor couldn't defend Israel's decision to unalive unarmed civilians or its sudden declaration of war on Iran. When you compare atrocities, leaders like Mao and Stalin have more blood on their hands than even Iran Ayatollah could ever dream of. But that doesn't justify anything, and his argument fell flat.
I understand that, Scott. I'm just trying to figure out why we would let another fanatic get a nuclear weapon.
Well, again, you're begging the question with your
Have you ever spent time?
As
Have you
I
ever spent
already
time in
said,
Israel?
Iran mastered
Scott,
the fuel
Scott,
cycle
have you ever
20
spent
years ago.
Scott, have you ever spent any time in Israel?
Iran mastered the fuel cycle 20 years ago, and they haven't made a single atom bomb.
Scott, have you ever spent any
yet,
time in
dude.
Israel? Scott, have you ever spent time in Israel?
No, I have not
No.
been
Okay.
there.
So you've never
been
been under. So you've never been under the threat of
Have you
Iranian
ever
missiles.
been to Iran? Have you ever
No,
been to
because they won't give
taken
me a
tour
visa.
of the Natanz
They
facility?
won't give me a visa.
Okay,
Because they don't want
so
journalists
you
there.
don't
Because they
know.
won't answer questions. Because they imprison Americans and
So
execute
how do
anybody
you know
who
they're
speaks out
making a
against the
nuclear
regime.
bomb if you've never been?
Okay.
And here comes the same tired logic Douglas Murray used on Joe Rogan. If you haven't been there, you can't have opinion. Ridiculous. Joe Rogan and the internet rightfully mocked that line.
For better or worse, no one can shape the political weather right now more than Joe Rogan. And his recent interview with Douglas Murray was no exception. You might remember we showed you this clip of Murray at the time in conversation with comedian Dave Smith.
Have you been to the crossing points?
No.
When were you last there at all?
I've never been.
You've never been? I have a journalistic rule of trying never to talk about a country even in passing unless I've at least been there.
Okay.
It's a sort of normal, it's a normal thing to do.
When we analysed that intervention, we pointed out, well, at least two problems with Douglas Murray's argument. So one, you can't go to Gaza right now. You can only go to Israel, and then Israeli military might take you into Gaza for a little brief foray, showing you the things they want to show you. Second, Douglas Murray, in fact, talks about all sorts of countries he's never been to.
By that logic, News Nation shouldn't be allowed to talk about North Korea either. But of course, they do. These talking heads are pirating AIPAC script, nothing more.
Because they say they want one.
No, they don't. They have disavowed nuclear weapons.
Then why
won't
they let journalists in? Why won't they let journalists in, Scott?
Treaty.
If they
All
don't,
you got is misinformation.
No,
dude.
they won't let
You
anybody in.
can't make
Okay,
a point
James,
without
this is the
lying.
point. Scott, thank you very much. We appreciate it. I
Good
think
luck
the point,
to you.
The point is made.
Well, there you have it, folks. The drums of war are beating again. Israel's media machine is in full swing. And now you have been informed.